Welcome back to another edition of 0 Point Reviews. This week we are going to be talking about 1997 Luc Besson film starring Bruce Willis and Milla Jovovich. We are talking The Fifth Element, everybody. Are you ready for this one? Because I know we are.
250 years into the future.
Major Dallas, you've been selected for a mission of the utmost importance.
What mission?
Hold on! The race to save the human race is in the hands of one man.
You wanna play it hard? Let's play it hard.
Bruce Willis.
We're sending somebody in to negotiate.
Anybody else want to negotiate?
The Fifth Element, rated PG-13.
Well, Kevin, are you playing it hard with The Fifth Element this time?
Wow.
Fancy commercial from 1997, man.
Do you remember that?
No.
I don't remember that trailer at all.
I don't think I saw any trailers. I actually never saw this movie until it hit like VHS at the time. It was on rental.
Oh, wow.
Like I heard about the damn movie, but I never actually like saw it. And I don't remember any commercials. I don't remember like anything other than now on home video. And so that was my first experience. And everybody, that's what we like to do here. We like to talk about our initial experiences with movies before we get to the good, the bad, and the ugly of every film we discuss here on 0 Point Reviews. Yep, Fifth Element this time, everybody. So, Kevin, what was your first experience with the Fifth Element?
Okay, so again, I was just sitting there thinking about it. Why the fuck did I see this in the theater? So it must have been just because it's a Bruce Willis movie and I was working there at the time.
Okay.
But I don't remember seeing anything about this. I remember the poster being hung up. I remember probably being the one to hang it up. And I remember loving this in the theater. It was like blew me the fuck away. I remember walking out with my friends and being like, dude, that was cooler than Star Wars. And they all looked at me like,
hell are you talking about?
Yeah, like for whatever reason, this was like way more exciting to me than Star Wars was. I'm like, you guys, there was some shit in this. And it's not that there wasn't in Star Wars, of course, and Star Wars is the much more epic film, but there was a lot more exciting like chases in this, not necessarily dogfights, but chases.
Yeah.
Yeah. A little bit more high octane of a film than Star Wars was.
Yeah, definitely more on the adventure side of, say, like a sci-fi action movie that this was. It seemed to feel like it was more on that sort of side of things rather than just straight action like the whole movie, because it likes to slow down from time to time. And, that's just the way the movie kind of flows. But yeah, my first experience, like I just mentioned, was home video. I saw it on a commercial saying it was out on home video, and I rented it. Loved it the first time I saw it. I'm like, that's actually really good. And so, Kevin, let's get into the good, the bad, and the ugly of the Fifth Element.
We'll start us off with the good, and that was my introduction to Milla.
Milla.
Golly, she's just
all
adorable.
of this fucking movie, man.
Yeah. She just had she won me over with this smile here where she wins him over and she realizes he's going to help her. And she's just like totally relieved. And she's like this little child that realizes like everything's going to be okay. And she was extremely believable. And you're like, God damn, she's fun. And she made the movie for me. Like totally. Like I didn't really care that I was watching that Bruce Willis movie anymore. I was watching this movie with this new hot chick that I've never seen before. It's like, she's going to go places.
Oh, yeah.
What? She did. Despite what my wife would say, what I say about people like that, she did go places.
Well, she's had a pretty damn good career after this. Like, this definitely, like, really launched her career into, like, the action movie stratosphere. Because, like, what does she get later on? She gets movies like freaking the Resident Evil franchise that she basically got for marrying Paul Anderson. So
no. She married Paul Anderson for doing the Resident Evil franchise. That's what she got out of the Resident Evil franchise.
I see how it works, but
the other way around.
Okay. He
I'm a
did that
fan.
just for her. Gotcha. Please marry me. I'll get you a whole franchise.
No, he got her the franchise and then they got married. That's how that worked.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Is that how you want to propose to Mila yourself?
Hey, if
Don't knock it till you try it.
if I had the ability to ask a woman out by giving her a franchise, you don't think I would? If I had limitations as I do, you don't think I would do shit like that? Of course the fuck I would.
Who wouldn't? All right, Kate Beckinsale, I'll be calling you very shortly, my future ex-wife.
You know, us Irish kids, our mom has told us this is 12 inches.
All kidding aside, Mila is really good in this movie. She's very charming. She's got a character that's very naive initially. And as we go through the movie, we follow her arc. And as she's learning more and more about humanity, she's learning more and more how much it needs help and assistance. And she's really the only thing that can help stop the extinction of the human race from a evil Mr. Shadow. And she ultimately is the fifth element as long as she is with love. And that is ultimately what solves the mystery of this movie. And the power that defeats evil is love. But Mila was fantastic in this, and she handled all of her action scenes very well. The choreography was great. Everything just matched up very well for Mila. Even Bruce really stood out in this movie. Mr. Willis, this was not John McClane in space and in the future. This was a little bit of a different character. Yes, he's still a badass, but you never felt for a second you were watching John McClane. It felt like you were watching an actual military person strategically handling missions and trying to save the world intentionally. So,
Intentionally.
well,
Okay.
to a point intentionally.
He didn't want to until he had to. And by had to, I mean wanted to go chase after Lilu because she's cute.
Yep. Well, he tried to kiss her a couple times and she said no.
Not without her permission. No, without her permission.
I think I got that.
They were fun though. And then, like you said, her fight scenes, they were whoops, I clicked on the wrong thing. What was that?
We're not even sharing anyway, so
that's what I'm saying. It's like, wait, I clicked on the wrong thing. I'm on the wrong page. I'm
Mother clicker.
This. I know. Clickety clack. I love this image here. It's like her fight scene was almost ballet like. It was so beautiful, and the fact that she was fighting these hideous monsters just made it that much more fun.
Oh yeah,
I loved it.
Yeah, I like that particular sequence where it was timed with the orchestra / play opera that was going on, and that it was kind of being counterbalanced in between scenes with. Like the cutting and the editing of that was really good, and all the beats matched up with punches from another scene, and it just how that all flowed together was actually very interesting and a lot of fun. It really kept the energy moving, in my opinion. So you got a really fun action scene to the beat of an operatic song that had some hard rock beats to it, which I know that sounds fucking crazy. This whole movie is fucking crazy, and it shouldn't work, but it does. It's this weird conglomeration of like ideas and themes, and it all just kind of comes together and it just works. And this scene is a perfect example of that. You got her fighting all the bad guys. You got Corbin Dallas sitting there in an opera. And it just hits all the crescendos and it just goes very well.
Yeah, and you're seeing all this grotesquerie, but hearing this angelic voice that they auto-tune, for lack of a better term, to make it sound ethereal and alien, and it's so like alluring to your ears, but then so is the visceral damage that you're seeing, and it's so God, I don't even know if there's a word for it. It's like being on drugs, for lack of a better term. You're like on a high. You get this electric feeling that you're seeing, this energy. Yeah. It was a dope scene, and you're kind of like, have they ever like thought of doing music videos like this? Because that's just damn cool.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
but and that's kind of the energy of the whole movie. I mean, not with that song, of course, but it's like the movie's got like scenes where it's like it wants to go the entire time. I know you said it slows down here and there, but for me, there's very few moments where it slows down. Everything builds up to this next big thing where it goes to another big, huge explosion type of an adventure.
Well, that's why I would say that the movie is exceedingly well edited and paced out. Like, whether they did this in post or was straight up intentional in the script, the way they actually shot, filmed, and edited the damn movie, you don't feel it slow down. Like, it keeps a continuous speed and never lets off the gas pedal, but sometimes it pushes down and accelerates forward. It never takes the foot off the gas pedal, for a metaphor. And so the periods of slowness are basically, we're going to actually move the plot forward here before our next big action scene. So you actually get the context for what an action scene should be in a movie. This is what Marvel has been lacking in DC films. Most modern films have been lacking this sort of construction for the last 10 years. And this isn't rocket science. This is simple math and simple science right here. You build up to your action scenes. You make your action scenes important when you have them. You don't just throw in an action scene because, oh, hey, we've had 5 minutes, too much talk, and let's fucking do something here. Here, there's enough banter. There's witty dialogue. There's character development. There's character moments. There's great this, that, and the other going on. So it never feels like this gets too slow. The slowest part of this movie is like the first 5 minutes. That's it. Aziz, light. Much better, Aziz.
And that's always funny as hell. That's like one of my favorite parts.
That Mr. Luke Perry, the late Luke Perry, was in this movie for just a couple minutes at the very beginning.
At the very beginning, although he was like credited 6th in the credits.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, oh, wow, he's going to be in this too. And
that would have been interesting.
Yeah, he doesn't die, but this this old professor does. Are you German?
No, not German. But then they basically knife him in the back or something because he keels over.
Yeah, which is really unfortunate. Which you have to wonder, did they really kill him, or did Luke not really know how to check for his pulse? He was.
Yeah, I don't know.
It could have been either. But the aliens were absolutely stunning. They were beautiful. They were huge. There was about 6 huge puppets, and it took 20 people to operate these goddamn things. They were fucking enormous.
That's a great part about this movie is the practical effects are amazing.
I don't think there really is any use of CG outside of in the spaceships, and even then
stuff. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
we'll Mr. Shadow.
Yeah, Mr. Shadow is. But anything on the planets, any of the action sequences and stuff like that, none of it's CGI. None of the explosion is. The explosion is probably, I think it was then or is still now the largest indoor explosion at the time.
I believe that is correct.
Yeah, it took 25 minutes to extinguish. To safely extinguish.
I vaguely remember the report of that on ETV or something back then.
Yeah, and it almost got out of control, and you're just kind of like, whoa.
Oh
shit. And you watch it, and you're kind of like, is it just a model? No, them's just some pretty big plumes of smoke.
They wanted it to look as real as possible.
Yeah, they did a really good job with it.
Yes, they did.
So, I just 0-pointed again thinking of that big ass explosion because it all 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, the only other CGI scene I could even remotely think of is when they're doing the car chase scene at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah. Okay. That's right.
With Wheeler diving off and landing in Corbin's taxi. What the fuck? You have lost 4 points on your license. You have 1 point remaining. Reminded me of Demolition Man with all the penalties for swearing.
And that was one of the fun things about this movie is for a post-apocalyptic film, quote unquote, it's not grim and dismal. Like the future is nutty and weird.
Yeah, this isn't Mega City 1. This is just seems like a city in the future.
Yeah, like it's New York, so there's just still a bajillion people, but it's 300 years from now.
Yeah.
So like Central
Which
Park
oddly
is
worked
still
for me.
Yeah, it was way cold at sea. Like you don't want to be on the floor. The ground level of Earth is just shitty and scummy because it's caked over with fog and like grime.
Yeah.
Which was Mega City 1's not like that. Mega City 1's just like shit everywhere.
That's like Detroit in the future is what that is.
It's like Detroit now.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I even like, a lot of the tech is also a very good part of this movie too. Like, I love the auto wash, the bed that goes rolling under and into the wall. There's a whole lot of like just fun things that just nice little touches, like the gun rack that goes up into the ceiling. The police markers on the wall. Put your hands here. So when there is like something happening into the building, they already have preset things for the police to be able to see. It's all very interesting and sometimes comical, or at least the comical scenes.
I like the tweaker that has the hat that's the picture from the not the doorknob, but the
it's the hallway.
Basically. Yeah. Basically the view from the peephole. So when Bruce looks at it to make sure that there's nothing out there, he doesn't see the tweaker, and the guy's holding him up, not realizing that. Well, he doesn't have the gun off, but Bruce tricks him into thinking that the gun is off, and he's so tweaked out of his mind that he like lets Bruce turn it off for him.
Give me the cash.
It is the funniest fucking thing.
The gun's not loaded. You actually have to hit this button to load the chamber. Oh.
Shit. He's doing this little dance.
And then you hear it load. So it does end up loading. But by that point, Corbin Dallas just pulls the gun straight up on him and is like, this is a dangerous weapon. I'm going to take this from you now. And you just casually this is going into the collection. Yeah. And you find out that he's a former special forces agent in the military and has high awards. And it's like, I wouldn't want to fucking rob that guy.
And that's one of the things about this movie. It's like, considering he's the main character, this really is an ensemble picture because like the main character and the main villain never really cross and meet at all. Like everyone that's involved is very happenstance. Like it's almost like a Cannonball Run type of movie where everyone's trying to get to these stones and then trying to get back to Earth before everything gets destroyed.
They easily could have played Benny Hill music for part of this movie, and it would have made perfect sense the way it was going down.
The opera scene, it could have been Benny Hill. A bunch of snobs just went, fuck you.
Pretty much.
Oh, that's a dope scene. I have that techno version on my phone.
That's true.
But anyway, and then the banter that they had, the storytelling they did was just as entertaining as the action sequences were.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So that also helped with the pacing, like because you were never bored. You were fun with the dialogue. The dialogue was exciting, just as exciting as all the tech that you were talking about. The jokes, the jokes for the tech were just as funny as the jokes that Ruby was telling, like getting stuck in the freezer in the bed with the cellophane going over you and shit. Like that was all hysterical. The timing of it was amazing and it was just entertaining as hell. None of that was in Star Wars. I'm still trying to cover up for myself from 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
Yeah, right. Because we were 2 years away from episode 1 at this point.
Yes.
That was 99.
Well, the mechanics, the masks for the shapeshifters were reused for the oh god, what was the name of the aliens? The Trade Federation guys.
Oh yeah, yep.
The ones that once were mostly racist.
Yeah, I don't remember their names either, but I know who you're talking about.
The viceroys.
I don't remember the names. I'm a bad Star Wars fan in that regard, but
it'll come back to me when we're done. It's not important. That's our 0 point.
that's
That's why we call it 0 point. But so with the pacing and stuff like that, did you feel like 2 hours was too long, too short? What did you think about that? Because usually that
was actually my next point of discussion is for 2 hours, this actually felt like pretty tight. It actually feels like about an hour and a half movie for a 2 hour runtime. So what they did was appropriate. Any longer, though, I think it really would have struggled to be balanced as well as it was. And I think it worked out for the best. I think it was a pretty good tight 2 hours. What did you think?
I was shocked a little bit. I don't recall it being that long. Because again, I've never been bored watching this. I'm always excited. I'm always entertained watching this. So again, watching it, I was kind of testing the waters to see, like, okay, am I getting bored yet? Is it feeling slog? And no, I'm still entertained. And by the time it got through that third act, the third act really cooked. Like it
flies right by.
So I guess by the end of the third act, for as lame as the epilogue kind of is, which comparatively it truly is, and it's gross.
You mean you need like 5 more minutes, Kevin?
Yeah, five more minutes.
Just 5 minutes.
We're recording this right now. But
it could be 38 seconds if you're really good, though.
If you're really good. Multi-pass.
You get a multi-pass.
Multi something. No, but this movie could have been a hair longer, I guess, and I would have been okay. And I say that leading into The Ugly, just a sneak peek for that. This movie was intended to be, or the story was intended to be much, much broader than what it was. They condensed, 3. They condensed it down into 1, and I think it went down from 3 down to 2 down to 1. But when they were initially starting, it was like a 400-page script.
Yeah, that's what I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, like it was huge, and it had just this amazing universe. And golly, I would have loved to have seen all that. So,
yeah.
Well,
the spiritual kind of successor is Valerian, Planet of 1,000 Cities, or whatever that was called. I just remember Valerian. That's supposed to be kind of like a spiritual successor to this movie, but it's not a sequel at all. But it's been insinuated it could be set in this futuristic world somewhere.
Well, I know he's gone on record saying that, he wouldn't mind revisiting this universe again. Why not?
Yeah, older clips where he was not interested at all. That's got to be something newer.
And that's probably okay. If this was his baby and this helped shape him as a writer and a director, what he got was great, or what he made was great, as far as I could tell as an audience member, not knowing what his original plan was. I really enjoyed what he created. He may have a sting in his bottom from the studios not wanting to do his whole big plan. So maybe that's the reason.
Well, also remember at this time he was still married to Milla.
Oh,
when they did this movie. So he might have special memories that like he doesn't really want to dig back into or anything like that. I mean, who knows? He might be well past that after X amount of years.
I didn't know that.
Yep. So.
That explains that.
That could be part of it. It could be a number of different factors. That's just purely a guess. So, but if we had a sequel, is that something you would have checked out? They were calling it Mr. Shadow for the longest time, and it was rumored for years. I totally would have been game for it. I don't see how this could have really been pulled out into a trilogy, though. I could easily be wrong if we had ever seen it. But I really like how this is self-contained enough that we don't need more because they gave it an appropriate enough ending. So I guess my question is kind of a two-pronged question. Like, would you have wanted more, or are you okay that this was pretty sufficient for a standalone movie?
It's pretty sufficient for a standalone movie. Everyone got really strong lines, really strong performances, really strong characters. But selfishly, I would have liked to have seen Zorg do a whole lot more damage. I would have liked to have seen the mercenaries do a whole lot more damage.
Gary Oldman, everybody.
Yeah. This picture here. This is the dream gun of dream guns for little kids. Like the everything.
That was so rad.
gun.
It's like something straight out of a video game.
Golly, and he just displayed it so fun. And he hated this movie, hated the performance, but he kind of owed it to Luke to do it. So he had no problem doing the performance. He gave 110%, obviously, but he knows that it's silly and he thinks it's just funny that it's got this cult following. Like, come on.
Some actors just have a thing about like, man, that's goofy. I don't get it. Why everybody likes it, but okay. Some are a little more, you like that and you want me to sign a picture of my dead body. Don't know about that anymore. Kevin Bacon, for anybody who didn't catch the reference. Long time Friday the 13th, everybody would want him to sign pictures of his own dead body. He found that to be very odd and creepy, and he didn't really like the film all that much. But, you know, he's fresh. You know, Gary was fresh off of doing Leon the Professional. And so Luke had grown an affinity toward him and really wanted to bring him along on this project because he felt like he could really bring out the performance of Zorg that he really wanted. And that's ultimately what we got out of this. And that's why Gary's like, you know, this wasn't exactly what I went to film school for and acting. But okay, I'll do it for the paycheck. And because you did great by me on Leon the Professional. So I think he turned out great. He was a great bad guy, but it gets into the one thing that would be bad about the movie. If we want to get into the bad, we can do that now. But ultimately, it was too bad that his role was kind of cut short in this movie. It felt like he was only in the movie for like all of like 15 minutes in total. I know it was more, but it just felt like a guy who was just here and there through the movie. And it's like, oh man, he could have done so much more.
He was so fun to watch, though. Like, he was so charismatic, even as a douche.
Yeah. That's why I think he would have made a great Mad Hatter for a Batman back then.
Oh my gosh. Even now I could see that being amazing.
I doubt he'd do it now, but because he's Jim Gordon in most of people's minds. But
oh yeah, probably not. And he was really good at that too.
Yeah. I loved him in Leon the Professional. He's a great actor too. This movie's got a great cast.
I've only seen Leon once, so it's like I only vaguely remember that.
It's a tough movie to watch, but it's really good. Jean Reno was excellent, dude.
Oh, Reno was the original choice for Corbin, wasn't he?
No, it was Mel or Bruce, I thought.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mel Gibson, yeah. Mel passed on it, though, from what I remember. I didn't do any research. This is just off the top of my head, but I remember Mel was asked about this, and he ultimately passed on it.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I couldn't have seen Mel Gibson doing this, to be honest. It would have felt very different. Not that he can't do deadpan and sarcasm, just
oh gosh, no.
This worked a little bit better for Bruce's skill set, I feel.
Yeah. The negative, I'm a meat popsicle. That's more of a Bruce line. It felt more right.
Meat popsicle. It was like he was doing a William Shatner impersonation for that.
Which any of these guys doing impersonations or accents is always bad. Always.
That's very true. Very true. All right. No, Kevin, did you find anything bad in this movie? You can level with us all.
Okay, so I talked a bit about the end with the extra 5 minutes and all that. There's a bit of an age gap between Mila and Bruce.
What?
A bit of an age gap that
Just a little.
it seemed really weird, but at the same time, the character was just wrecked by his ex-wife. She was cheating on him. He's just trying not to kill people in life and live with his cat, and God just drops this young alien on him.
Hot young alien.
Naked young alien on him. And
it could have been worse. This could have been Alien in LA.
And then it's got to end with you end your movie with this older gentleman on top of your naked wife, and it's like, okay, like I don't know.
Started the movie naked too, so
that's fine. I'm not arguing or complaining about that part. Again, I've had a crush on her since the very second I saw this feature.
Because I pretty much did too. And after that, like Resident Evil was like, oh, she's my type.
Yes. but anyway, the let's see here. There's a few things with the movie being as gonzo as it was. Everyone's after them to like capture her because they need her to save the world.
Right.
And they're all instructed to capture this cab. So they start shooting at it. And you're like, why the fuck are you shooting at it? Like, you don't really understand. So it's like the mercenaries are shooting at them because they know where the stones are. The cops are shooting at them because the feds are just trying to capture them. And you're just kind of like, everything is so exciting and fast paced, but you don't really care because it's so exciting and you're entertained. But it does leave the question of like, wait, why did the cops start trying to kill them though? They know it's a catch and retrieve sort of deal.
Yeah, but they also know that they could revive, Mila as a character because she had died in the initial space crash when they were trying to get the stones to begin with. So,
okay, that's fair. That's fucked up.
But at the same time, would you really want to go through all that extra work? Maybe you just take a little extra precaution and not have to do that again.
Yeah.
It's like nobody really thought through the plan all that great. I think they were crashing a McDonald's drive-through a little too much.
The sponsor or the placement ads for McDonald's is pretty great. I really couldn't have complained about that. I'm pretty sure there were McDonald's cups for this. That much I do remember with their supersized meals.
I kind of remember
that. I'm not going to look it up because I'm going to be like, dude, I should get one of those on eBay. Never let my kids touch it.
Yeah, right. No kidding. God, stuff like that was a bit on a little goofy side, but for the most part, that always tended to work out to the betterment of the movie. But there's some times where I feel like the movie got a little too goofy with things, and they weren't exactly like horrible. I wouldn't clump them in the ugly, but it's like not all of the little campy jokes worked for me. Like the whole it's a don't say it's a bomb, it's a bomb. That kind of little sequence was just kind of I like those two together. I wasn't feeling like the writing for that particular moment and how it ultimately came across. It just didn't work for me per se. So there's a moment here and there just like that throughout the movie, but it doesn't really kill the mood or anything. It's just not all the jokes landed for me.
I see what you're saying there, and that's how I got this picture of it, because like it was definitely a notable moment for me too.
Yeah.
I wrote that down as it being an attempt at vaudeville. That's what I saw them doing, was where he's going, oh, no, because everybody knows that if there was a bomb, it would go, an alarm would sound because all these ships have alarm or bomb alarms. And then
one goes off really in that split second, and I'm like, okay, that's a logic problem, because the second he armed it, the alarm should have gone off.
Yeah, but no, the way they set that joke up was very much a vaudeville joke. And I'm like, okay, I get that.
Yeah.
But it was just, It was okay. It was okay. I just noted it because it was such a different kind of joke from everything else that was in the movie. It's like they just stopped
Yeah.
to try to do that one type of joke, and you're kind of like, sure, okay.
And they
Why
did like
not?
3 or 4 of those, and I felt like none of those really worked for me. It's like you could have just come up with something else. It would have been just fine. It just takes you out of the movie just for a split second, but then it just follows right up with, "Hey, we're right back to the story. Let's keep going." It's like, so it doesn't really give you too much time to think like, what the fuck was that? You're more wrapped up in, oh, we're trying to get off this ship now. Okay, so at least they do keep it moving enough.
Enough. You know, that was an ad-libbed line, and I believe it from Bruce. I believe
Hmm.
it.
That's one of my favorite lines. I use that all the time. I speak two languages, English and bad English.
And it's true.
It is very fucking true.
You know, one of the things that I can't necessarily say it's bad. It was, but it wasn't. Like there was a huge, long running joke at Eurotrash in this movie.
Yes, there was.
But they were all sincerely really, really funny jokes. Like,
What's that?
if you've ever seen Eurotrash people, like, you don't want to be anywhere near them. They're annoying, they're offensive, they're narcissistic, and coming from me, that's saying something. But these people were just truly fucking delightful.
Even the king's daughter, that Ruby Rod, had a moaning sound recorded on his microphone.
Which is funny because the king was Asian, but his daughter was Mexican. You're like,
I know.
All right then. Like,
hey,
inclusion.
You never know how mommy found Poppy. So
it's called a harem, kids. A harem. Yes.
That means more than 4.
But the other Eurotrash guys that I absolutely loved was Ruby's bitches, his entourage that were just constantly
my god,
kissing his ass. Like
totally,
that could have been, yes, they could have been completely annoying. And I'm sure more of them would have been annoying. But I loved them. And I grouped them in the bad because so many people did the whole thing after seeing this movie to where it wasn't necessarily funny when they did it. But I loved these 3 fucking guys here when the whole like the action sequence was done and they're let back in the room and they're trying to get back to Ruby. And 2 of the guys are crying for him, Ruby, Ruby. And one of them just screams out, oh, master.
How much you want to bet Chris Tucker kept screwing up scenes just to drive these guys nuts?
Master.
I could just hear Chris Tucker going, what the hell did you say to me, fool?
Like,
you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
The racial ramifications of saying that aside, like the sycophantic joke of it was just hysterical. It just killed me inside. Like they can't live without him.
They love their meal ticket.
He's super green and he is the tit.
Oh, and he was very suave with the ladies. He liked to take them off and put them in their full and upright and locked position, if you catch my drift.
All those stewardesses were very pretty, like weirdly pretty. I don't know why. And I don't want to sound like a pig when I say that. I don't know if it was just the way that they're like, you know what? Let's get these wigs on them so they all look like blonde lemons. Yep. But, you know, get their eyebrows all looking a uniform way. I don't know why, but they were all just really pretty looking.
Mr. Rod.
Yeah.
You can call me Ruby.
You've got your tongue in my ass, or I've got my tongue in your ass. It's fine. You can call me Ruby.
It's okay. Yeah, baby, I love you. You're the best I've ever had. Oh, goddamn. This woman talks too much. Chris Tucker was really good for the most part. when you hear Chris Tucker is in this kind of movie and playing this kind of a character, you automatically want to go, that's going to be so bad. He actually is not.
Oh God, no, I loved this. See, for me, this was like his peak. Like
Yeah.
before he declined to do Friday 2 and everything just started rolling downhill. Like this was like the
Rush
peak
Hour
for
was
me for
fine.
him. Rush Hour was really good. Rush Hour 2 is where I'd say where things kind of like stopped. Rush Hour 3 was not enjoyable necessarily.
Yeah, things started to plateau with the second one, but Jackie kind of took over for that movie anyway. Jackie Chan would have been fun in this movie.
Oh gosh, yes. But Jackie's Chan in every movie. Jackie's fun in every movie.
Yeah.
I meant to say it wrong the second time, kids.
I thought you were saying like Jackie Canada, and I'm like, dude, wrong country.
Who?
What? I can't hear you.
Oh shit.
Yeah, there's really not that much that's actually bad with this movie. At that point, you're just trying to find like some things that are just kind of nitpicky for most people. So there's always going to be like something some didn't work for most people. But for the most part, the movie's just a lot of fun. I don't even know what I could say about Ugly other than I don't know. I have to think about that. I didn't even put anything down in my notes for that. Kevin, you got anything else on the bed, or you want to get to the Ugly?
So let me see if I could find the Ugly here, because this is not a bad picture. This is truly one of my favorite movies of all time. Like it's just, I'm never unhappy to see it. Two things really came out of this movie. One, it was supposed to be a trilogy, like I said.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be a much broader universe, and I would have loved to have seen something this fun and wonderful compete with Star Wars, because Star Wars turned out to not be as epic after this time period. So there was that. There was the what could have been, kind of the same way we said that was what happened with Total Recall. Same thing with The Ugly. It was supposed to have sequels and be a broader universe. And then worst of all, its biggest sin was one of its greatest treats was the opera scene. The beautiful notes that they did with her. The diva told them, like, human voice doesn't really do this the way you've written it out. And they said, don't worry, we've got that figured out. And they came up with this trick to make her voice go from here to here, like faster than the human voice can naturally do that. That later became auto-tuning, and it was cool once when Cher did it. Once, motherfuckers. And it kept getting done and done and done to the point that fucking Meatloaf had an album out that he was auto-tuned on it.
It got way overplayed.
Yeah, so like if you bitch and complain about dubstep, look up auto-tuning. That came out just before. It was a bigger sin, and it started with this movie.
Oh, I never actually knew that started with this movie.
Yeah, that was the only Ugly I had for this flick. Otherwise, you can't be like, well, it didn't have titties. Yes, it did. Just because you didn't get to see them all the way didn't mean they were there.
Yeah,
your imagination.
That's very true. Well, this was a different time for like science fiction when you could be wild and creative and still put out something relatively interesting, let alone compelling. This Galaxy Quest, like there's a couple other movies from around this time where they were taking chances and doing something on a high production level that could compete with, say, like the Star Treks and the Star Wars, but being something totally different. And I think one of the ugly things for me is the fact that this didn't do as great at the box office as it probably should have. But I think overall, once it hit home video, because back then, home video was king. Like you could make not much money at the box office, but if you did great home video sales, videotapes, DVDs, and you did enough great sales, people would reevaluate the movie for like, okay, what, maybe there's still something here. That's how Austin Powers came around to having its sequel and then its third movie after that. Largely the first one bombed at the box office, but it did so well on home video and it did very good on TV re-airings that somebody went back, reevaluated, and said, all right, let's give this one more try. And you see what happened from that. Austin Powers became kind of a cultural thing back then. And I remember Fifth Element was the same. It didn't have that same kind of like pull like Austin Powers did, but that brought this movie from what I would say was an okay box office to maybe it'll develop into a cult classic, or it'll just fade into obscurity to the depths of, hey, somebody will eventually remember this, to it's got a full blown cult classic community and it has fans. We're still talking about this movie. I watch this movie about once a year, and I don't think I'm the only one out there. And great special editions. There's a great, beautiful steel bookcase that's got a 4K in it and a regular Blu-ray edition from Sony. Highly recommended. It's not expensive. I'd go get it, but it's all the way on the other side of the room at this point. I put it back already, but it's a great release, and I would think that it's selling pretty decent. It was tops of the charts when it was out for like a good month. So there's still an audience out there that people want this movie and want to have it in their collection. So, but to circle back around, Ugly was probably just, it didn't do that great at the box office, and it was unfair, unjustified. It didn't click for some reason for a lot of people until later on. But, that also means that we don't get that sequel or the potential trilogy. I really wanted a Mr. Shadow movie. I thought that would have been very interesting to see how they would have accomplished that, what they would have done with Mr. Shadow. But unfortunately, we're not getting that, and I don't think we ever will.
I liked how polite he was over the phone. Am I bothering you?
Do as I say.
I'm
going to make you bleed your own blood.
From the middle of your head.
Which was so random. I'm like, what is actually happening here? Are you crushing his skull?
Tar stigmata.
Gotcha.
Stigmata. Yeah. So, but I mean, really, there's not much ugly to this picture. Nothing. Like, there's things that got cut, certain aliens that were supposed to be in it, like jokes.
Yeah.
The reason for all the trash that was there in the airport was because the aliens that took care of the trash were on strike. They all looked really cool. Conceptually, they all looked really neat. They got taken out. So that would be one of the ugly things. Otherwise,
I hate
just your
like
fun ride.
Yeah.
That's pretty much everywhere available to watch. Again, thank you, Sony. This is on Peacock and everywhere else available to stream. This was not hard to watch.
No. Yeah, this is pretty accessible to people. That's also a testament to how much desire there is to get access to this movie. The fact that you can find it just about anywhere to watch.
Yeah, and that they don't throw money at Luke to like revisit this universe, even if it's not these same actors.
Right.
A reboot is still worth doing because these are
could
fun.
be done.
Yeah, if he's helming it, writing it, what have you, overseeing, it could still be fun, even with different actors.
Yeah,
fun
and I
concept.
could totally see that. Like, you could even make like Mila like an elder person, like, and she's now got her grandkids or something. Like, you really want to get into like some sort of tie into it, but you could just go another 300 years in the future, or the evil comes around every 3,000, 5,000 years, something like that. Like, you could easily just throw it further into the future, and you could go even wilder with things. Like, you could do crazier special effects, you could do crazier aliens. You could really have carte blanche, because this movie does set up like so much that you could do in this universe and this world.
Yeah. And even doing flashbacks to Egypt and shit like that. Like, wow,
right?
So neat shit.
Like, this was just one little temple with one little situation that would ultimately try and test the strength of humanity. But there could be other temples for other things and other creatures, other aliens, other threats to the existence of humankind. Could definitely play into something like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, the potential for this is just amazing. And Sony Sony's a bubblegum factory. They put money into things that are tested and proven true. This, I think, kind of is. Sure, it didn't make that money initially, like you said, in the box office, but it's been a constant seller, home box office. It's been a constant streamer, constant. It's always been successful. It's always been good, and it's not one of these movies where you're just kind of like, oh, that didn't age well.
Yeah, there's like none of that in this movie. Well, at least in my opinion.
No, like even Bruce. Okay, I make the joke that there's that 20-year age gap between them. There are couples, plenty of healthy couples that have a 20-year age gap between them. So I really say that as kind of a half jest. It's not the creepiest thing on earth, but Bruce Willis is not a creepy person necessarily. Like he's never been Me Too'd or anything like that. So it's like. No. You're not seeing creepy McCreeper person on top of a young lady that's trying to up and coming in Hollywood. It's not that kind of movie. Like you don't get any vibes like that. Nothing is taken away from the enjoyment that you had the first time you saw this.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And this is a good fucking movie. What more can you say other than final judgment time?
Final judgment. Here's your CGI where she blows the hell up. Like they saved everything good and put it into the final product of this movie. There was 400 pages of material, so much shit that had to get cut out. You know, turning 400 pages down to about 120 is a big deal for a writer. That's cutting away and killing pieces of yourself.
Big boom.
Yeah, what they left you with, what they distilled was just like one of the greatest sci-fi action flicks of that decade. Like it might be my favorite. I really did enjoy it more than episode 1. Like
this, Starship Troopers, and I would argue was Galaxy Quest 99? I don't remember.
Yes.
It would be those three for me for the 90s. For space science fiction, like these three are like top notch in my book, and they're all three very different movies.
Yes, and it's hard to say which would be probably my favorite. This might be, just because again, it's that nonstop action ride. But like, golly, you got things like Galaxy Quest that make you laugh and slap your knees so goddamn hard because it's funny and clever.
Yep. And Starship Troopers seems to be a bridge between both of them. Like you could easily do a triple feature day watching all three of them in whatever order you want, and you'll end that day completely satisfied.
It's true. You'll have gotten great laughs, great intellectual jokes, and a hell of a lot of violence.
Yep.
A lot of violence.
Absolutely. And this is just a gem from its era, and I love it.
Agreed. And all of these movies are these gems, as you put it, are the special effects are out in the broad daylight. So it's not that creepy, use your imagination. That makes it creepier. No, they're showing you all these beautiful things. And it's just it looks perfect for its time. The CGI that they used was great. It wasn't the newer stuff that was starting to get pushed everywhere. You don't see CGI fire in any of these stupid movies. It was all really, really well done.
Oh, absolutely. And like the work is tremendous. The professionalism, the work ethic. Like you could absolutely tell that everybody really cared about putting this movie together in as best condition as possible. And it really shows in the final product. And my final judgment on this would be like, this is a fantastic film. Anybody could watch this film. It's not that gory. It's not that bloody. Yes, there's a few bloody scenes. There might be a little bit of nudity going on, but like it's very minimal. Like it's very much in the very beginning of the movie, and it's over within like a split second. So
it's French. And believe me, it's not the most naked this woman's ever been. Ever.
Very true. Very true. But fun ass movie. I'd probably give this a very solid 9 out of 10 for me.
Agreed. Like I think I come out of this realizing that this kind of turned me on to things like skinny chicks with like multicolored hair, like bright orange, blue, things like that, space age
That
type shit.
explains a lot, Kevin.
Doesn't it? Like, I came out of this movie with the same look on my face that Bruce had on his. Like, do I have a kink now? Is this how things start? Yes, I do, and yes, it does.
That means you got yourself a multi-pass, Kevin.
Multi-pass.
Maybe multi-pass.
Oh, I just removed myself instead.
I just threw you back in there, and I ain't cutting that out.
I just final judgmented myself.
Well,
Anyway.
It's such a fun movie. Like, what more can you really say? Like, acting is fun, the writing is fun, like everything's just a lot of fun. There's a lot of energy, pacing is awesome. Like, never a dull moment with this movie. Might slow down here and there, but it always pays off. So nothing is set up without it being paid off in the end. That's the mark of a very good movie, and there's a lot of really great work in this movie. Even the soundtrack and the score is pretty rad too. I don't exactly like the song for the end credits, but it's one of those, you just deal with it, and it's the end credits. You could just stop watching at that point because there's no mid or post credit scenes.
Yeah, I just saw Milla Jovovich naked. I don't really stick around for the song after that. Like I'm off to the Jurgens. I mean, I got
You got your towel and you got your shower ready. So. But that said, thank you everybody so much for tuning in to 0 Point Reviews of The Fifth Element. If you like this video, please do hit the like button down below. You got any favorite thoughts about this movie? Any memories? Things you liked? Didn't like? Anything you got? We want to hear about it and read them down below. Also, when you hit that subscribe button, also be sure to hit the little bell notification so you can stay tuned to all of our video content. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Make sure you got your Lilu Multipass, and we will see you on the next one.